don't know, but I would have thought so. Looking at it, just if that.
Someone there?
Yeah, car's there. We can't go any higher. Thank you. At least we have that for oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Actually, it's alright. notice that. Alright? Can't notice that.
Are you going back into the building? Yeah. Who am I sending this to?
I can't.
I just need to give it to someone.
I'll give you the clip as well.
Huh?
I'll give you the clip. Yeah.
Yeah, please. I'll kind of no rush for that.
I'll pop in anyway. Told with my cable.
So, how does that work?
1 second. It makes a lot of time lapse. Because I think told was had my cable on online. It fails after time anyway.
1 second. That's it.
Because I missed something. She stands there for like 60 seconds. Well, is it belong to me? Victoria and it's
No, you do. But I've literally pressed them tightly against longer. So it's
We are centering
Keep going until you stop. You might as well do it in case that runs out back.
Oh, sorry. Want to check it?
Thank you. So stressful. Yeah, it's just I think for some reason it was like 4 minutes. No, it's not like battery. It's definitely coming out of Are we sure?
Not even bothered.
Order. We start with questions to the Secretary of State for Scotland, Peter Bedford.
Question 1, Mr. Speaker.
Secretary of State.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If you will allow me, it seems fitting to begin by congratulating the Scottish men's football team on qualifying for the World Cup next year. For the first time since 1998, when I, along with the Tartan Army, watched them in France, we will be back on the world's largest stage. Steve Clarke and the team are truly history makers, and we are very, very proud of them. With permission, Mr. Speaker, I will answer questions 1, 14 and 15 together. Alas, today Scotland is being held back by the Scottish Government's dogmatic opposition to nuclear power. New nuclear projects can deliver millions of pounds of investment and thousands of high-quality jobs and apprentices. Scotland is well placed to benefit from the jobs, investment and energy security that nuclear can provide, but frankly, we need a change at Holyrood.
Peter Bedford.
Mr. Speaker, what discussions has the Secretary of State had with the SNP government in Scotland, whose Luddite approach and ideological blinkers prevent Torness, Dounreay and Hunterston being considered for future nuclear projects, with all the jobs and investment that goes with them?
Well, Mr. Speaker, this seems at least an occasion on which there's a genuine cross-party consensus. Not only have we urged, and I do so again today, a different approach from the Scottish Government, but my friend, the Secretary of State for Energy and Net Zero, has already asked Great British Energy Nuclear to begin assessing Scotland's capability for new-build nuclear sites.
Sir Geoffrey Clifton-Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the Secretary of State not agree that actually renewables require a considerable expense in connecting to the grid? And would not the former nuclear sites of Hunterston, Torness and Dounreay make very suitable sites for new nuclear power stations from which the Scottish people have benefited hugely in the past?
Mr. Speaker, I should declare an interest in that Torness is, of course, in Lothian East, my own constituency. It provides about 750 well-paid, highly paid unionised jobs. Of course, we would welcome the opportunity either for AMR, SMR or new-build nuclear on the Torness site. But when you talk to the EDF management there, they say the opposition of the Scottish Government is what is preventing equivalent investment from the kind that we saw recently announced at Torness's sister plant in Hartlepool.
Mr. Griffiths.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Number 15, please. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A key plank of the SNP's dogmatic argument against new nuclear is cost. Will the right honourable gentleman find a quiet moment, perhaps when the winds fall light and the turbines stop, to point out to them the reduced costs of small modular reactors?
Well, of course, there's new technologies emerging, as the Honourable Lady recognises, and we are delighted that Rolls-Royce are one of the companies in the lead in terms of that new wave in nuclear technology. But you don't even need to look to the future. Look at the most recent past, where there are occasions where the wind doesn't blow and the sun doesn't shine in Scotland. That's why Torness provides significant baseload capability. We see new-build nuclear as being an essential part of that energy mix going forward. Alas, the Scottish Government don't understand that.
Peter Murray.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the Minister agree that Scotland cannot meet its long-term energy security and net zero goals without new nuclear power, and that centres such as the University of Strathclyde's internationally recognised PNDC, whose expertise in grid integration and systems resilience is world-leading, will be essential to the safe and effective deployment of next-gen nuclear technologies across Scotland?
Mr. Speaker, I wholeheartedly agree with my honourable friend that the expertise of our research centres here in the United Kingdom, including the University of Strathclyde's PNDC, is absolutely critical. The crucial research that they are undertaking will help further the safe and effective deployment of new nuclear technology. We are watching a wave of nuclear technological innovation around the world. Alas, we need to make sure that not just our universities but our communities across Scotland can benefit from that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Last week I spoke to trade unions in Scotland who argued the ideological ban on nuclear power is costing young people career opportunities for well-paid and long-term jobs. In my own constituency, an SNP councillor is spreading misinformation and arguing against highly skilled nuclear jobs, safely dismantling submarines at Rosyth. Does the Secretary of State agree with me that this pervasive and misinformed approach is holding back our country? And will he urge the First Minister to distance himself from the comments of the councillors in my constituency and welcome these jobs to Rosyth?
Well, Mr. Speaker, of course I condemn such misinformation. The reality is, as a government, we're investing £340 million in the Rosyth dockyard. I was in Fife on Monday, met with Fife College, with Fife Chamber of Commerce, with Babcock's, with Navantia from down the coast. There is a huge level of investment going in, but alas, we're in a position where the Scottish Government seems resistant to harnessing the potential of defence growth deals to secure new opportunities, not least for apprentices in Scotland.
Johnny Reid.
Mr. Speaker, since my election I've met with many employers, both local and national, who have expressed, to put in parliamentary terms, frustration at the SNP's lack of no-nuclear policy. This is stopping my constituents from getting access to high-quality jobs and preventing investment as well. Does the Secretary of State agree with me that this is a political choice which is stopping Scotland from actively receiving good quality jobs and investment?
Mr. Speaker, I find myself in agreement with my honourable friend. This is not just an anti-jobs measure by the Scottish Government. I would argue it's an anti-science measure. Let's remember, nuclear power is carbon-free. Given the challenge that we face in relation to climate change, why would you want to resist a technology that can provide reliable, safe and cheap carbon-free energy for decades to come?
Secretary of State Andrew Bow.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And can I join the Secretary of State in congratulating Steve Clarke and the Scotland football team for qualifying for their first World Cup since I was 11 years old. I very much remember getting the afternoon off of school, and I hope that the Speaker takes the same approach to the parliamentary days my head teacher took to the school day when we do have our first game next year. Scotland has a long, proud history of nuclear power generation. We have the skills, the sites and indeed the local support, but we also have in the SNP Scottish Government a Luddite mentality, choking off investment, preventing new jobs and going against the wishes of local communities like those in Dunbar that I know the Secretary of State knows well, who want to see Torness secured for future generations. So what does the Secretary of State think it will take for the SNP to join that growing list of countries around the world and allow the global revolution in clean, safe nuclear power to reach Scotland?
Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to tell the honourable gentleman what I think it will take. I think it will take a change of government next May, and it's time for a new direction in Scotland.
Question number 2.
Secretary of State.
With permission, Mr. Speaker, I'll answer questions 2, 10 and 12 together. Over the last year, we have increased the national living wage, a pay rise for 200,000 of the lowest paid Scots, delivered a generational upgrade to workers' rights, had 5 interest rate cuts and of course expanded the warm home discount scheme, meaning 1 in 5 Scottish households are getting £150 off their bills. But we do need to go further and faster, and the Chancellor has pledged targeted action to bring down inflation further.
Ms Savile Roberts.
Does indeed need to go further. The Scottish Government this morning laid the regulations necessary to mitigate the 2-child cap brought in by Labour and carried on by Labour. Scotland is the only part of the UK where child poverty is falling. It's the only part of Great Britain with a non-Labour government. Does he recognise the huge role played by the Scottish child payment in tackling poverty head-on? And does he agree with me that Labour and Cardiff Bay and Labour and Westminster should follow the Scottish Government's lead?
They won't agree, though.
As part of a government that saw child poverty fall significantly, I believe that we will be true to that commitment. I hope there may be more for the Chancellor to say in the coming minutes, but you can be assured that we welcome all measures that reduce child poverty after many years in which, tragically, we've seen poverty rise.
Mr Black.
In the 16 months, then, since the King's speech, when Labour MPs were whipped to vote against scrapping the 2-child cap, how many children have been pitched into poverty as a result of his refusal to scrap the cap?
Here, here.
Mr. Speaker, we've always been clear that we wanted to take action on the basis of sound public finances. That is why it is a Labour government that has been willing to take the difficult and challenging steps. I'm old enough to remember the criticism from those benches after 1997, and we went on to lift record number of kids out of poverty. That's why I welcome the approach that's been taken by our Chancellor.
Mr Logan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's just over 500 days since this government came to power, and the Chancellor's and the government's policies have been a disaster for the north east of Scotland. with the cost of living problems, whether that's the impact of our national insurance hikes on jobs and investment, the family farm tax in the agricultural sector, the energy profits levy, which is killing jobs in the offshore sector, or the raw deal offered to our fishing industry with the Coastal Growth Fund. Can the Secretary of State tell me and the House, should we expect the Chancellor to fix this mess that she has made, or will this budget be another failure for the people of the North East?
Too long.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It won't surprise you that I'm not going to prejudge the announcements the Chancellor will be making from this dispatch box in just a few minutes' time, but I certainly don't recognise the characterisation he's offered of the first 15 so months of this Labour government. It was always going to take more than 18 months to undo the damage of the last 18 years. What we've seen is 200,000 Scots already lifted out of poverty, record rises in the national minimum wage, and that work will continue.
Mr. Speaker, this government is embarking on delivering the biggest upgrade of workers' rights in a generation, which will provide income security for many in my Edinburgh North and Leith constituency. I'm not surprised that Conservative peers are blocking it in the other place. However, we, my right honourable friends, share my constituents' shock that Liberal Democrats and now the Green members are too.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to say I'm shocked and surprised, but very little the Liberal Democrats do can shock or surprise me. The truth is the bill is expected to benefit people in the most deprived areas of the country by up to £600 in lost income from the hidden costs of insecure work. That's exactly the work we as a Labour government are called to tackle.
Speaker, what discussions has the Secretary of State had with the Chancellor of the Exchequer about the impact for Scotland from the increase in the national living wage?
Mr. Speaker, there were discussions in the Cabinet involving myself and the Chancellor of the Exchequer only this morning, but I would certainly pay tribute to the work that she and others in Government have done, ensuring both that upgrade in workers' rights and that pay rise for the 200,000 poorest paid Scots.
Stephen Giffen.
Mr. Speaker, can the Secretary of State tell us by how much household energy bills have risen since Labour came to power?
Good question. Mr. Speaker, I hope we'll be hearing more about energy bills later this afternoon.
Stephen Giffen.
So the Secretary of State clearly doesn't know. I'm going to help him. They've risen by £187 for the average household, with more rises due on the way. Now, the Secretary of State might also want to know that today is National Energy Action's Fuel Poverty Awareness Day. Scotland is one of the most energy-rich parts of Europe, with our renewables and our hydrocarbons that the Treasury has benefited from over the years. Does he get the frustration of this government when it comes to the cost of living on fuel poverty, food prices and child poverty due to Tory policies that they've maintained?
Mr. Speaker, this is a government that has taken action and will continue to take action. In his rather partial account, he missed out the around 530,000 households in Scotland that are already benefiting in relation to the £150 off their energy bills this winter, and I hope that we'll hear more today.
Jerome Mayo.
Number 3, sir.
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, over the last year, this government has taken action to fix the foundations of our economy, to put the public finances on a sustainable path and support growth. Despite the UK economy being forecast to be the second fastest growing G7 economy this year, and despite private companies like Iberdrola investing £10 billion in Scotland's energy sector alone, there is more to do. The recently published Muscatelli report shows that under the SNP, economic growth has been ignored and the unique potential of communities across Scotland has been held back. That's why today the Chancellor will set out a budget to boost economic growth in each and every part of the UK.
Mr. Speaker, the latest growth figures in Scotland have been terrible, just 0.2%. They're even worse than Labour's figures for England of 0.3%. So what has been more damaging to the Scottish economy? Has it been SNP policies in Holyrood, or is it the Labour policies here in Whitehall?
Mr. Speaker, the SNP government is clearly not doing what is required to drive growth in Scotland. But I would say to the honourable member, we are dealing with the legacy of Conservative economic mismanagement of 14 years. Their catastrophic policy of austerity, their mismanagement of the pandemic and a failed Brexit deal. And you don't just have to take my word for it. The present leader of the Conservative Party has been clear the Conservatives have no plan for growth.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does my honourable friend share my regret that rather than building 39 new health centres or building 30 new primary schools or employing 23,700 nurses in our NHS, that the Scottish Government has been content to keep £1 billion of an underspend rather than investing that money in Scottish public services and having a consequential effect on Scotland's economy?
Mr. Speaker, I couldn't agree more. Since the election, this government has delivered an extra £5.2 billion of funding for the Scottish Government. It should be making life easier for Scots, but it's being completely wasted by the SNP. And what do they have to show for this record-breaking settlement? We simply cannot waste another decade with this failing SNP government. It's long past time for a new direction.
Andrew Bowie, Shadow Secretary of State.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. A key driver of growth in Scotland is the agricultural sector. And, Mr. Speaker, I can tell you that Scottish farmers feel utterly ignored and totally abandoned by this Labour government. I have here a copy of a letter that was delivered to all Scottish Labour MPs, urging them to call on their own government to reconsider the family farms tax. One farmer who wrote to the members opposite said that these tax changes would destroy the family farms that feed Scotland, and he was delivering this letter as a plea for their future. So can the Minister tell the House, have those pleas fallen on deaf ears?
Mr. Speaker, the honourable gentleman and I have discussed this many times, and he's aware that we are striking a fair balance between supporting farmers and fixing the public services on which all of our rural communities rely. We've taken a fair and balanced approach that protects the family farm while also fixing the public services that we all rely on, including our own constituents.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Pleas to the Minister and the Secretary of State ignored from farmers, just as other pleas from other sectors key to driving growth in Scotland have been ignored. Scotland has the worst of both worlds: two socialist and economically illiterate governments, and a Scotland office that turns a deaf ear to the pleas of the sectors that could drive growth in our country. It's no surprise the Scottish people are about to reject Labour in May's election yet again. So after today's budget, who does the Secretary of State think will feel most abandoned? Scottish farmers, Scottish distillers, Scottish family businesses, Scottish oil and gas workers, or poor Anna Sarwar and the Scottish Labour Party?
Mr. Speaker, the honourable gentleman is perfectly well aware that the majority of those claiming relief under agricultural property relief will be completely unaffected, 3/4 of them. What will affect every single person in Scotland, however, is the Chancellor's budget, which is set to help with living standards, drive growth and put the sound financial management of our public finances at the heart.
Number 4, Mr. Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Immigration is, of course, a reserved issue, and the Home Secretary set out last week an asylum policy that will work for all parts of the United Kingdom. It contains the most sweeping asylum reforms in modern times, commensurate to the scale of the issues before us. These reforms will restore control, contribution and fairness to the system. I'm proud that our country has always been fair, tolerant and compassionate, and this government will always defend those values.
Mr. Speaker, this government's new heinous asylum and immigration policy marks a dark moment for many who have chosen Scotland to be their home, even leaving children born in Scotland at risk of deportation. I don't know if the ministers actually notice, but we're facing a population and demography crisis that this will only make 10 times worse. And if we don't address it, this is going to have a huge impact on our economy and social services. So why does Scottish Labour actually support an immigration policy that is contrary to the Scottish interest?
Mr. Speaker, what Scottish Labour, like the rest of the Labour Party, supports is a system that is both humane and restores control. That's in the best interest of communities, it's in the best interest of those seeking asylum and to migrate themselves. We are proud to support it, and we know that the rest of the country wants a system that has both control and fairness as its guiding principles.
Chris Murray.
Speaker, in Scotland there are approximately 4 times as many people fleeing oppression from Ukraine and Hong Kong as there are asylum seekers. There has been no public outcry, they have been welcomed. This shows Scotland is a generous country, willing to play our part if the system is fair and controlled. And moreover, this year, 14 children drowned in the Channel coming here. Does the Minister agree with me that there is nothing progressive about not fixing a system where public support for refugees drains and children drown?
Mr Speaker, I'm sure the whole House will join me in remembering those children that have drowned in the Channel, and I couldn't agree with my honourable friend more. There is nothing progressive or humane about a system that incentivises people to take those terrible, terrible risks with life, and I commend my honourable friend for all the work that he's done with those seeking asylum and refuge over very many years.
Chris Kay.
Question number 5, Mr Speaker.
Mr Speaker, the funding of Forth Valley College is a matter for the Scottish Government. Scottish colleges have had their funding cut by 20% between 21-22 and 25-26. As the UK Government, we have delivered a record funding settlement to the Scottish Government, so for as long as there has been no final decision reached regarding the Alloa campus, I would urge the Scottish Government, in the words of Flower of Scotland, to think again.
Chris Kay.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Years of SNP underfunding have pushed Forth Valley College into financial crisis. Just when we needed to deliver skills for Stilling's film studio, the Grangemouth transition and shipbuilding and defence in the Forth and Clyde, the Alloa campus is facing closure. Does he agree that the SNP is undermining Scotland's future by neglecting the institutions that drive growth, and that Scotland needs a Labour government with Anas Sarwar to rebuild our colleges and our skills base?
Mr Speaker, the facts are clear. The spending review was historic for Scotland and delivered the largest real-term settlement for the Scottish Government in the 25 years of devolution, with an average £50.9 billion per year between 2026-27 and 28-29. It simply makes no sense to be cutting the FE College budget in Scotland by 20%. It's definitely time for that new direction.
Susan Murray, Liberal Democrat spokesperson.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. After 18 years of SNP government in Scotland, the education system is failing and qualified Scottish pupils are being turned away from Scottish universities. Meanwhile, the private sector in the west of Scotland, like the Energy Technical Academy in my constituency of Mid Dunbartonshire, is upskilling workers who are paying so that they can install EV chargers and heat pumps. Will the Secretary of State explain to the Scottish Government that educating young people and further education training is good for Scotland?
Mr Speaker, I sincerely hope they're listening to the very powerful points made by the Honourable Lady. 89,600 young people in Scotland today are not in work, education or training. That's equivalent to about 16.1%. 1 in 6 of our young people in Scotland. Scotland deserves better than a Scottish Government failing 1 in 6 of its young people.
Richard Baker.
Question number 6, Mr Speaker.
Secretary of State.
Mr Speaker, the UK Government is transforming our defence sector into an even more powerful engine of growth, with skills and training being a central pillar of that strategy. If the SNP-led Scottish Government won't do the right thing, then we will. That's why we stepped up with £2.5 million to fund that specialist welding centre in Glasgow, and we continue to work on exactly that agenda.
Richard Baker.
Mr Speaker, the recruitment of 14 new apprentices at the Methil Yard in my constituency, saved from bankruptcy by this Labour Government, protecting 200 skilled apprenticeships, is a stark contrast to the failure of the SNP on apprenticeships in the defence sector, which means many companies struggle to recruit skilled workers locally. Will my right honourable friend work with colleagues in the Ministry of Defence to promote Methil as a prime location for future defence contracts, so that Avanti UK can create more new apprenticeships at the Yard and work successfully with the Scottish Labour Government at Holyrood?
Mr Speaker, I met with Navantia Management in Fife on Monday. I met with the Defence Procurement Minister yesterday. There are huge opportunities thanks to his powerful advocacy of the workforce in Methil and the work that we can do together. The truth is we have a Scottish Government that is dithering on defence. We have a Labour Government determined to do right by the country on defence.
David Mundell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was delighted when Eastriggs in my constituency was shortlisted for a new UK munitions factory. The Secretary of State will know its long history in munitions and the fact that the Ministry of Defence already own the site. So will the Scotland Office continue to promote the project but also join me in facing down the Scottish Government's anti-defence industry stance?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I can offer the right honourable gentleman the assurance he seeks in relation to facing down a Scottish Government dithering on defence. I would pay tribute to his passionate advocacy of the particular site he speaks of in Dumfriesshire, and I can assure him that we in the Scotland Office will continue to work with our colleagues on the MOD as we make sure that we've got the factories we need to keep our country safe.
Still there.
Question 7, Mr. Speaker.
Minister.